I want to start by saying this is my fourth time recording this. Hello, hi, welcome. We're going to do a quick get ready with me because it's Friday and this is the day that I usually do some running around. But when I tell you that my first three recordings were chaotic, I don't know what was going on. But today we're going to do so much better because we're going to talk about generational curses. And it's really based off of what Clifton Powell said recently when he was talking about how at 69 he's just now learning how to love or learning about love. He's never been faithful. And though I mentioned him in my last video where he was talking about men having dopamine, this time I'm going to be mentioning the fact that he said no one ever taught him. No one ever told him how to be a good person, a good man, a good father. No one taught him about love. And women have this. I'm not going to talk about this part, but I just thought it was funny that he said that, women have like the monopoly on love. But anyway, let's get into it. So a few weeks ago, my son and I were just joking around, and I was actually about to bash Gen Z because he's Gen Z. And so I was about to ask him, like, hey, so what's a generation that you just don't see it for? And he was like, the boomers, because they created all these problems for everybody and then they blame everybody and they're just rude and ornery and all that good stuff. And it got me to thinking, like, am I on his side? Because I think I'm a little on his side. So when Clifton Powell said what he said, don't touch the dropper to your face. I won't, Durmangelo. I love his videos, by the way. Did I just your phone? It made me think about how every time I would talk to a boomer or someone from that generation, they would always say, no one taught me this. No one told me how to do this. No one said this. No one said that. And I thought it was very interesting that that's like the go-to excuse. And so we have a bunch of different reasons why, right? So I used to be really into true crime. And of course, with the state of the world right now, no, thank you. Every day is a true crime story. So I love docs and I've been switching over to documentaries, and I especially love docs that are on old Hollywood starlets or famous people or just whomever, just old musical acts, old. And literally the common theme, even for celebrities today, the common theme is some type of trauma from their past. Whether it was SA, DV, abandonment, neglect, their parents ended up, being separated and the mother keeping the father away, and then the stepdad was abused. Just all types of traumatic events are littered in their past, right? And so, I don't know. Should I do my eyes first? As I listen to these stories, it's like very obvious that the problem is the parents. It's the parents. And oh, let me show you mine. This is my bin of makeup. Not a lot is going on in there. But so their parents were all drunks and all types of stuff. And it goes back to, I know, Black History Month. Welcome. Everything goes back to slavery. So there was a thing that happened in this country to no one else but us. And when I mean us, I mean the Black community. And we were all taken from wherever we were taken from, or our lands were taken over, clock that T. And we were enslaved and we had to work under torturous conditions in order to build this country, right? And so we were mutilated, we were tortured in every type of way. We were essayed, we were beat, we were ripped apart, we were done, because I don't want people to just think that, because since our history is being rewritten, I don't want people to think that slavery was just us working for free. It wasn't. We were being bought and sold because we weren't even humans. We were considered property. And what do people do with property? Whatever they want. We were being skinned and eaten. Our children were taken from us. We were being essayed, which is why I'm the complexion I am. Massa used to sneak in my great great grandmama bunker all the time. So, from the trauma of that experience, when you look at where we are in life right now, how far are we generational wise from slavery? I'll wait. So, a lot of our parents and our grandparents are and were, or at least their parents were slaves. So, guess what? Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Well, now that slavery is over, they replaced certain things. First of all, we weren't even let go immediately. And also, a lot of things were replaced with a hood. And then, there's redlining. We never got our 40 acres and our mule, but we definitely weren't free. So, with that being said, think about color purple, right? You still aren't safe. You still aren't free. You're not being paid. You can't be hired. You can't vote. You can't do anything. And so, as a woman, you can't have any rights. You can't have anything to yourself. You couldn't have a bank account or your own apartment and stuff like that until like the 70s. So, you have the man who is, there's no therapy. So, the dad is turning to the juke joint after work. He's probably still a sharecropper, especially in the South. And I need to blow some steam. So I'm going to go to the juke joint and I'm going to have a time and I'm going to drown my problems in the bottom of a bottle. That's what they did, right? Well, once you do that, I may go home and do some essay, some DV, take it out on my kids and my family, right? But if I didn't do that, and let me be very clear. I'm not talking about healthy, happy, stable family units. I'm talking about generational curses. So the connotation is negative. Well, let's not be dense. I don't want to talk about the happy, healthy families. We're not talking about that because we're talking about generational curses. So if you're not going home to do that, then you're just going to create a bunch of broken homes. You're going and creating a family with Shirley, Barbara, okay? And you're running around. Papa was a Rolling Stone. If you even stayed, if you went back and forth. Some just created families and just dipped off, right? So then the woman has to step up. And like I said, you can't get anything on your own. You have no rights. So with that being said, you have to depend on a man in some capacity to take care of you and your children. Or you have to go into the oldest profession in the world. Guess what happens? You create babies. And everything that's being done is a means of survival. You're just trying to survive. While you're surviving, when you look at these, especially like the old Hollywood starlets, a lot of their parents, I mean, they were going through world wars and things like that. But a lot of their parents would make them start working mad early and would live vicariously through them, like Jean Harlow, and would want them to go into like the music business or really Hollywood and showbiz, right? They're exploiting them. They're taking their money. It's not like, again, we're not going to therapy. Therapy is not a thing. Like, literally, if you did anything as a woman, they would say you're hysterical and they will put you in a sanitarium. Like, for any reason. If your husband just didn't want to be with you anymore, he would just lock you up somewhere. You think about like stories about, and I'm not saying that his mother didn't need to go, and this is alleged, even though this is what he said, but like Quincy Jones's family, his mother and him, like, well, him and his brother, they were kept away from their mother because their mother was in like a sanitarium. There was no mental health and there was no none of that. You was just crazy. So we have all these conditions that are plaguing our community. And during this time, you're right, Clifton Powell, no one is telling y'all and teaching y'all anything because mama's trying to survive, daddy's trying to survive, and we as a people are trying to survive. So then time goes on, and you think about movies like Fences, with Denzel's character. And then you think about the woman's character, Viola, and what she gave. And listen, what you weren't taught, you didn't teach. And what you learned, that's what you taught and that's what you gave. And that's the thing I think my parents were boomers. So that's the thing. Our parents, they love to use excuses to say, no one ever told me, no one ever taught me. But guess what? You didn't teach me either. And so, daddy, we don't know where he's at. We were told to not have kids, don't bring no babies into this house, and for the boys, don't be gay. But the girls were always fast and we were hot just for developing body parts that were like, it was normal. And then the boys were encouraged to do whatever they wanted to do. That's what we were taught. We were taught to not be fast. And while all of this is going on, our moms are male centered, our fathers are absent. But we had all types of demands on us. Like I said, you better not get pregnant, you better be something. And all of it was to make our parents proud so that they could take the credit for something that they didn't do. You would make a demand, but you never gave the expectation of what to do and how to do that and how to get there. No support, none of that. Because once my generation came, the millennials, we decided that we can not only go to school and find a way and survive on our own, especially as women who didn't want to be oppressed by a man, but also therapy. We found therapy. And let me be clear, I'm not saying that therapy is for everyone. But I do think that there are forms of help that you can get somehow. I'm not saying that you have to go and sit down with the person and tell them your whole spiel. If that's not what you want to do, don't do that. But y'all didn't do anything. And so, because we went to therapy, we said, hey, let me confront the situation and talk to my mom or my dad and tell them how I felt about things and how things growing up affected me. Guess what? No one ever taught me anything. No one ever told me anything. I did the best I could do. I kept a roof over your head and food in your stomach, if they can even give that. Or, I'm your mother. Don't disrespect me. You're being disrespectful. Your parents this, your parents that. Don't disrespect your parents. But guess what? We always want to quote that scripture, but we never want to go to the part where it says, parents, don't provoke your children to anger. It always says, Elohim doesn't just be like, hey, here's just a one-sided thing. Actually, let's find the scripture while I'm talking. So they all say that they didn't know and no one taught them anything. And then this is the beauty of breaking generational curses. No one taught us anything, but the lack, neglect, abuse, abandonment taught us what we knew we felt wasn't cool to pass down to our children. So we overcompensated, and now we have spoiled Gen Zers because we literally supported and helped and loved our children so much that now they don't even see the point of doing anything but just being loved and supported. And I love that for myself because I'm the mother that I needed. So what am I saying? Because I really don't have much to say. Honestly, I've said this. This is my fourth time saying any of this. And yes, I did ramble on in my other videos, but that's why I did another one because, Clifton Powell, you not knowing anything did not keep you from getting married or having children. And so whatever happened in your life, it affected everyone around you. So happy Black History Month and shout out to everyone who broke generational curses in their family. Right now, there is effort and energy put towards the Black community, and we have to fight for our rights like we used to, and we need to come together. But it's that generational divide where, back in my day, we used to walk 10 miles to school. And it's like, okay, but you walk those 10 miles so that I could ride the 10 miles to school. And a lot of parents don't feel that way. They feel like we owe them. And so now it's hard to parent our parents because they didn't listen when they were younger. So they don't listen now that they're older. They knew it all back then. So they know it all now. They don't like to listen. And they're all narcissists that don't take accountability for their actions. If you made it to this far in the video and you think at some point I'm going to shoot our parents bail, this is the wrong video for you because I'm not. I think it's Dr. Ramani. She's like the narcissist whisperer. And I love her, even though I feel like I'm the narcissist whisperer. That lady be on point. And she said that the boomer generation they're all narcissists. And I totally agree because literally, like I said, they don't take accountability for nothing. And then have you ever heard of, let me look up the narcissist prayer, because this is something that is very eye-opening. Let's see. I did screenshot it, but the narcissist prayer is, I'm sorry, this is very triggering for me. That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. Tell me that's not our parents, for those that this applies to. So Colossians 3:20 and 20. Yeah, 3:20 and 21. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. It's right here. I don't have to make anything up. It's crazy how you saw that top part, but you didn't see that bottom part. So what am I saying? Am I saying that parents are bad, children good, or we should do away with all boomers, even though that's a lot of the reasons why we have what we have going on in this administration. It's a lot of people that are still here that are doing things because they want to make something that was never great in the first place. They want to bring it back. So for this Black History Month, I first want to shout out the parents that are amazing. The parents, I'm talking about my Black parents. The Black parents that loved and cared for their kids at all times. The ones that protected their children. The ones who listened to their children. The ones who take accountability for the hurt, harm, or danger they may have caused their children, even though it wasn't easy to hear, even though it's not easy to deal with. I want to thank the Black parents and big them up for being good parents and waking up every day. I want to thank the blessing of a beautiful, wonderful Black father that stays in his child's life, that doesn't believe that being a father is just paying child support and visiting every now and then or getting them on the weekend and dropping them off to your mama, dropping them off to your sister. I want to big up the Black fathers who, I don't want to say stayed with the mother like it was out of some type of obligation, but stayed with the mother because he wanted to give his children a fighting chance to see Black love, to see what it's like for a Black man to love a Black woman. I want to shout out all the Black mothers for getting up every day, taking care of your kids, feeding them, keeping them clean, clothing them, keeping their hair done, and not acting like it was an obligation of them to appreciate it. You know, like they didn't ask to be here. Thank you for treating your children as individuals that don't belong to you, that will someday and one day be people of their own. And you're raising them to have autonomy and know that one day they will be their own person. Because let me tell you something before I finish all my shout outs, because that is what this video ultimately is going to be. Our parents, the narcissists that didn't know any better, but didn't stop having children. If you are male centered, chances are it's because your mother was male centered. And I just told you why. You know, survival was the name of the game for everyone at all times. If you are a neglectful father, if you've abandoned children, chances are you had a neglectful father who abandoned his children. My question is, what do you think about when you're abandoning your children? How do you expect for them to deal with you once they get older? Because there are nursing homes full of parents that don't have any type of contact with their children because their children refuses to have a relationship with them. Because like I said, this is about generational curses. So obviously for a generational curse to exist, that means that it was passed down generation to generation. If your father didn't take care of you, you learned how not to take care of your kids, so you didn't. What type of man would you hope your son to be? If you even cared, I guess. So when you have a child that you didn't show love, didn't support, and they grow up to be amazing people that are supportive and loving and amazing to their children. Instead of looking for moments to try to get any type of, I guess, try to take any type of credit from that, I would suggest that you be honest with yourself, and you would create a way better circumstance and relationship with your children if you can acknowledge your faults and say, don't just land at, well, no one taught me and no one told me any better. Say, you know, I didn't know and I didn't teach you, and look at the man or the woman you became. So shout out to the parents who could be held accountable for their actions. Shout out to the men who knew that there was something going on with them and they went and got help. Shout out to the women who stopped being male centered and who's choosing to not procreate because they don't want to settle or they don't want to do what their mother did. I want to shout out all of us because as Black people, we are resilient. We've been through so much, and that's what's in our blood is true resilience and making it through literal regimes created to keep us down. So as we end this Black History Month, pat yourself on the back if you have ended any type of generational curses. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be just holding yourself accountable if your kids come to you. It could be not having children before you graduate high school. It's just a tangent, just a little tangent. I be hearing so many people talk about, depending on like crystals and all types of things like ancestor worship. I literally see people in the comment section all the time say, all you need is God and ancestors. How does that make sense? If you have God, what would you need the ancestors for? You already have God. And as we're talking about generational curses, can you explain to me why you would need to talk to people who didn't have it figured out down here? And the word says that those who are asleep know nothing. So I just be so confused. Like, why are you talking to the ancestors when the ancestors are the ones who failed our grandparents and our 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 parents? What are you talking to them for? What are they gonna do? What are they gonna tell you? Anyway, so I was never taught anything. But what I did was I knew what it felt like when I was going through what I went through. Just like y'all knew what it felt like when y'all were going through what y'all went through. It didn't stop you from having kids. It didn't stop you from getting married 1,000 times. It didn't stop you from doing anything. And so now that you're alone because you mismanaged your life, you expect for those same children that you abandoned and that you let your male centeredness put men above your children. Now you want your children to parent you and take care of you. And I hear so many different nasty things that parents would say, like we owe y'all something. No one asked to be here. And y'all are the generation that be like, what happens in the house stays in the house. Don't talk about the pastor. Don't question anything. All that pastor worship. Yeah. And then after y'all done gave y'all bodies away to all these different men, where do y'all go to retire? In a church. And y'all are not converted. Again, I'm not talking about those who are. I'm talking about the ones who aren't, who sit up in church week after week, running out the old people because the old ladies are still in competition with the young girls. Still trying to pull the same men, trying to go to the same clubs, wear the same outfits, talk to the same dudes. Men still trying to run around with the young boys, telling them horrible information. This is how we get the red pill movement because y'all are busy talking about taking it back to a time where women were oppressed. Okay? No matter what race, the most oppressive person is a man. This Black History Month, we have gone through so many things. We're still going through so many things. But I think what the biggest problem in our community is lack of accountability on the men's side, on the woman's side. And it stems from the pain and the sins of our father. And so I get it. When you don't want to admit you're wrong about something, it re-victimizes you and it makes you feel like you're wrong about everything. I totally understand that. But guess what? That's just the enemy talking. You can never grow. You can never get somewhere if you can't listen, if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to take constructive criticism. If you're not able to be told that you hurt somebody, how are you going to keep from hurting them again? Because you can't deal with being told that you hurt somebody. You're too weak to listen to you hurt somebody. So now we have to tiptoe around your feelings and still be hurt. And then the best thing you can do in this world, and this is why I constantly talk about being male centered and valuing yourself, and these themes come up all the time because I'm constantly trying to show you that you are amazing, you are wonderful, and a chapter in your story does not have to be your whole book. You can overcome anything and everything. You just have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to ingest in order to grow. And that is why when you look at what's going on with these prosperity churches and you wonder, like, why are these people sitting up in these churches all the time just talking about nothing, doing nothing? These pastors are just running amok because they don't want to have a real relationship with God. They just want the money. They just want the clout. They just want pastor worship, groupies for the pastor. They want a relationship handed to them because, again, if you didn't learn about your human relationships, how do you think you're going to have a relationship with the God Almighty? So since I'm wearing black, white, and red, I don't know if I should take the bag Telfeezy, which I love this thing, it's so cute, or if I should just take a regular schmegular black. We'll see. But this is my scent combo of the day. I have on Charosa 68 and Fayora by Paris Corner. It smells so good. And that is it for today. That's all I have. I love you guys. And I just wanted to make sure that I was clear, which I don't think I was. So I'm going to make sure that I'm clear by saying we didn't all come from the best backgrounds. We don't all have the most amazing backstories, but I wanted to commend and applaud everyone who has broken generational curses and who has found Elohim or found some type of way to not perpetuate the scars that were handed down generation to generation. And I don't have, any type of beef with boomers. I just wish that they were capable of understanding that me narcissistic mindset is the wedge between generations. And if only we could come together, especially in the Black community, there's nothing that we wouldn't be able to do. And a lot of people are banking on that divide. The enemy is the devil. So of course he's the one person that's banking on that divide. He wants to keep family units as divided as possible. He wants to keep people as divided as possible. That's why we even have to have a Black History Month to begin with, because people will find any type of way to be divisive, whether it's money, class, citizenship, race and skin color, ethnicity, you name it. People get upset about if you like pineapples on your pizza. So I want us to come together, and I want us to understand that we can do more together than apart. And if you weren't a great parent, there's still time to get it together. All you need is accountability. And I swear, accountability will take you so far. It will take you so far. And anything that I messed up or said wrong, I will either put in the bottom and the descriptive. Listen, okay? I'll fix it. That's it. That's all. I love you. Have a great rest of your day. Keep hope alive. Put your faith in Elohim, and there's nothing that you cannot do. Again, happy Black History Month. And I'm just trying to understand, like, when you couldn't get anything out of them when they were still on the earth, how did you expect to talk to your ancestors once they passed? Because if they didn't know anything here, how do you think